How's it going, everyone? Thanks for stopping by and checking out my channel. My name is Swanee, and for today's Helldivers 2 video, I'm doing something a little bit different than what was originally planned. Now, normally after a big update is dropped, I like to go through the patch notes and test out every single big change. But after yesterday's big update, there has been a ton of community backlash. If you look at the subreddit for Helldivers, it is nothing but people just clowning on the developers. They're making fun of the developers. They're making fun of this update. A lot of people are not happy with the changes. Same thing goes for the Discord. There's been a lot of people giving backlash on Discord and Twitter. Just social media in general, it appears that people just are not happy with this update. And there's just been so much backlash that I figured it would kind of be a waste of time for me to go through and test out all these new changes, because I have a pretty strong feeling that the developers are probably going to backtrack a little bit and reverse some of these changes that were made in yesterday's update. If you look at the Steam reviews, there has been a large influx of negative reviews because there's just so many people upset at the fact that they're nerfing things. So they're getting memes made about them, they're getting review bombed, and because of all this community backlash, the CEO has actually been pretty active responding to people on social media, and the developers actually posted a blog going over each of the new major changes, and they give an explanation as to why they made these changes. So I'm going to go over all of that for you guys in today's video and give you guys my thoughts on some of the changes that they made and my thoughts on the whole situation. So first up, let's get into the new blog and their explanation as to why they made all these big changes. So the post says, "We hope you're excited for the latest additions and updates to the biggest Helldivers 2 update yet, Escalation of Freedom. We believe that a game thrives when it evolves alongside the player base, and your ideas and suggestions are a critical component to that evolution, allowing us to make adjustments that we believe will enhance the overall fun factor of the game. Our goal is to create a dynamic and engaging gameplay experience that remains challenging yet fair, rewarding your strategic thinking and teamwork. Today, we'd like to provide you with some context and reasoning behind the latest weapon balance changes. So the SG-8S Slugger. By increasing the stagger force of the Slugger, we hope to restore its identity that was lost after the previous change back in patch 1.000.200. The increased spread and drag should compensate for the improved stopping power and enhance the fantasy of a powerful shotgun firing large caliber rounds while limiting its viability beyond medium range. And based off of my testing so far, it does feel like the Slugger is a lot better. It does feel like it used to feel. You can finally stagger enemies with this thing again. You can stagger Devastators and Rocket Devastators and Biospewers. So anytime a Rocket Devastator is getting ready to shoot its rocket salvo at you, or a Biospewer is about to puke some acid on you, you can pop them with a couple shots from the Slugger and it will cause them to cancel their animations. So this is a really great counter to those annoying enemies, and I think this is a good change that came out of this update. So based off of my testing, the Slugger has my seal of approval. You know, this is a good change. I'm glad that they went back on this decision. So next up is one of the controversial changes that was made in the latest update, and it's the Breaker Incendiary. Now, their explanation here in the blog post says that after multiple changes to the fire damage, the Incendiary Breaker quickly became one of the most powerful weapons in the game, as it absolutely dominated the Terminid frontline and is a bit too reliable when facing the bugs, overshadowing the other weapons. By increasing the recoil and reducing the maximum number of magazines, we intend to make the Incendiary Breaker more demanding for good ammo economy while keeping its immense power intact. So a lot of people aren't a big fan of this change because the Breaker Incendiary was one of the go-to weapons against the Terminids for a number of different reasons. And in this latest update, they increased the recoil from 28 to 41, and they decreased the number of magazines from 6 to 4. Now, in my testing, I can't really tell too much of a difference with the recoil. It's still fairly easy to manage the recoil with this thing, but as for the magazine decrease, it is pretty significant. I found myself constantly running out of ammo using this now. Especially on the new Super Helldive difficulty, there's just so many Terminids. I'm constantly firing this weapon, and, you know, it honestly sucks to see that this thing got a nerf. And I feel like the reason a lot of the community is pissed off is because the devs said that they're done nerfing. They came out, they said they're making changes. The CEO stepped down just a couple months ago so he could have more of a hands-on approach with the game, so he could fix the balancing. And he promised that they were done nerfing weapons. And then we give them a month off, they take their vacation, we get delayed war bonds, we get delayed content updates, and, you know, the thought process was, okay, they're going to take their time and they're going to give us better updates because they have all this extra time to cook. And then they come back and then they break their promises. We get less content in each of the war bonds. We get more bugs and glitches in every single update. And then they promise that they weren't going to nerf any more weapons, and then they nerf more weapons. So obviously this isn't going to sit very well in the community. And the CEO was actually responding to some people on Discord about this weapon, and he went a little bit more in depth as to why this weapon got nerfed. He said the Incendiary breaker was like 30% of all tournament sessions at some point. Very much a meta gun. Is that a problem? Yes. Is it a big one? I don't know, we'll discuss it. So the reason for nerfing this weapon is because everybody liked to use this weapon. Everyone was having fun with this weapon. And I just don't understand this logic. This is a PvE game, it's not a PvP game. If this was a PvP game like, I don't know, Call of Duty or Apex Legends or you name it, and there was one gun that everybody was using because it was so overpowered, then yes, that makes sense to nerf that weapon. But this is a PvE game where we're facing off against the computer. So if everyone is having fun using a weapon, there's no reason to nerf that weapon. It just does not make any sense to me. The reason everyone chooses this weapon is because they keep making the game harder and harder and harder, but then they want our weapons to suck. It makes no sense. The reason everyone chooses the Breaker Incendiary is because on like Helldive difficulty or on Super Helldive difficulty, there are so many bugs coming at you that it's just too much to handle. Like I was playing Super Helldive yesterday with my friends, and there were so many bugs on screen that I was like overwhelmed. Like I was literally hiding in a little crevice waiting for my stratagems to recover because I couldn't kill the enemies any other way. My primary weapons do not do enough damage and don't have enough ammo to deal with the amount of terminids that are on my screen. That is not a skill issue, that is not a get good issue, that is literally just bad game balancing. There are just too many enemies on screen for me to deal with them because I just don't have enough firepower. So those late game difficulties, in my opinion, just aren't as fun. I like to play this game on like level 6 or 7 because for some reason the developers don't like to balance for those higher difficulties. They want you to play those higher difficulties because they give you better rewards, but this game is just not balanced for those game modes. In my opinion, they need to buff every other weapon to be on par with the Breaker Incendiary. You don't take one of the few weapons that was actually good for the community and nerf it so that it sucks like every other weapon does. The reason that players are so frustrated is because they give us so many weapons, they give us so many stratagems, but they all are so bad that we have to gravitate towards whatever the best one is because we're at such a huge disadvantage if we don't use the best meta weapons. Like if I go into a match against the Terminids and I don't bring something that can take out chargers, I'm screwed. That's why everyone is so upset about the recent flamethrower nerf. The flamethrower gave us an additional option to deal with chargers. If you take that away, then everyone is forced to use expendable anti-tank rifles, or the Commando rifle, or the Quasar cannon. And we don't want to bring a rocket launcher every single match. We want to experiment. We want to have fun with different stratagems. The community in the player base doesn't want to be forced to use 1 to 2 stratagems every single time they face the Terminids because chargers and Bile Titans are so annoying. I feel like if I go into a Terminid match and I just want to have fun and pick whatever stratagems I want and I can't deal with Bile Titans, well then tough luck, I guess. I'm just screwed. So the flamethrower was really fun. You could cook a charger in like 3 or 4 seconds, which can seem very broken if you're playing on difficulty level 4 because you might only come across 1 to 2 chargers at a time. But if you're playing on difficulty 10, Super Helldive, you can sometimes come across 8 to 9 chargers back to back to back to back. And if you don't have something that can deal with them, then you're just shit out of luck and you're pretty much going to lose. But anyway, that's my mini rant about the Breaker Incendiary. Let's move on to the grenade pistol. So their explanation for the grenade pistol says the original version of the grenade pistol was quite inconsistent compared to other weapons. It essentially tripled the amount of grenades available to the player, but required 4 ammo boxes to be fully refilled. By reducing the ammo capacity, we want the choice of the grenade pistol to be more deliberate, and we think that restoring more grenades from a single box will compensate for the loss of ammo, and will make the grenade pistol more reliable for any mission type. So in the patch notes for the grenade pistol, they decrease the ammo capacity from 8 to 6, and then they increase the number of rounds replenished from an ammo box from 2 to 4. And honestly, I feel like this is a good change. Before you got 8 grenades, so you could go in and basically clear out an entire bug nest. almost by yourself, which was pretty cool. And I often found myself just constantly running out of ammo with the grenade pistol. And now that we get so many more extra grenades from picking up an ammo box, I found that using the grenade pistol, I'm not running out of ammo nearly as often. Yes, we hold 2 less grenades than we did before, but because there's just so many ammo boxes scattered throughout the environment, I'm not finding ammo to be too much of an issue using the grenade pistol. So unlike the Breaker Incendiary, it felt like I was always running out of ammo with the new Breaker Incendiary changes, but with this grenade pistol, it does feel like this is kind of in a sweet spot and they put it in a good place. So I'm honestly a pretty big fan of these new grenade pistol changes. Next up is the CB9 Exploding Crossbow. Since the last patch, the Exploding Crossbow still struggles to find its own niche, as it has to compete with more reliable weapons. By making the crossbow a one-handed weapon, we hope to increase its versatility and offer new and interesting uses that will help it stand out from other options. So this was the only change that the crossbow received. This makes it so that you can carry different objectives while also holding the crossbow in your other hand, so it's pretty useful in that regard. And this change also makes it so that you can use the ballistic shield and the crossbow at the same time. So I do like the fact that you can use the ballistic shield with the crossbow. That part is pretty cool and it's pretty useful. Unfortunately though, in my testing, I found that if you're in first person and you try to use the crossbow, your aim is just completely off-centered. You, for some reason, shoot over to the right. So if you're zoomed in first person trying to shoot automatons, your accuracy is going to be all over the place with the crossbow. I feel like the devs definitely need to go back and fix that. Otherwise, this is a pretty good change and I do like this, and it feels really good to use the crossbow with the ballistic shield. I'm a big fan of the crossbow since they changed it where it can blow up bug holes and robot factories, and it does pretty good explosive damage now. I think that the crossbow is a pretty good weapon. So if they fix that aiming issue with the ballistic shield, this will put this weapon in a pretty great spot. Then they actually mentioned the Commando, which didn't receive any changes in this latest update, but they mention it here in the blog post. They said that the MLS-4X Commando, the ability of the Commando's missiles to destroy the automaton fabricator buildings from any angle, was an unintended behavior. However, the community clearly voiced their enjoyment of this particular bug, and we do plan on fixing this, but have decided to take some time to think this one through and not make any rash decisions on how to best rebalance this weapon. So apparently blowing up the factories is a bug, and that's not how it's intended to be used. Now the problem that I've noticed with Helldivers 2 is that they release a weapon, the community finds a really good use for said weapon, and then a couple weeks later, they say, oops, sorry, that was a bug. We didn't intend for it to do that. And then that's how they justify nerfing it later. So they always release these weapons, or these stratagems. There's some sort of bug that makes it too powerful. The community loves it because we finally have a stratagem or a weapon that can deal with these enemies on these higher difficulties. And then the devs are like, nope, you're having too much fun. Sorry, it's not supposed to do that. And then they walk it back. So at least with the Commando, they said it's a bug, but they notice that the community's having so much fun that they're not changing it at the moment. Hopefully they never change that, because that's one of the few reasons to actually bring the Commando, is that it can blow up factories in just one shot. That's a huge help for those automaton missions. So I hope that they leave it the way that it is. I love the Commando for that reason, and I don't want them to change that. Next up, they talk about the new AX/AR-23 guard dog. This is the guard dog that has the assault rifle. This isn't the laser guard dog. They said since release, the guard dog has been outclassed by its laser counterpart due to the fact that it ran out of ammo too quickly and could not be refilled from ammo boxes found around the map. We believe that increased ammo capacity along with the fix to ammo crates will improve its viability as a support companion. And in the patch notes, they increased the number of magazines it could hold from 6 to 8, and they added the ability that it could pick up ammo from boxes found around the map. Now in my testing with this new and improved guard dog, I still feel that it's pretty underwhelming, and honestly it's still not as good as the other guard dog. And in my opinion, they keep buffing this guard dog in all the wrong ways. The laser guard dog just keeps shooting and shooting and shooting, and it never runs out of ammo, and it can just constantly reliably kill enemies. The assault rifle version of the guard dog, it feels like it's spending more time reloading than it is shooting at the enemies. It can normally kill 1 to 2 enemies, and then it has to reload. So I tested it against both the automatons and the terminids, and it would normally kill 1 to 2 small bugs, go back to reload, kill 1 to 2 more small bugs, go back to reload. And then anytime I faced a medium tier enemy like a Devastator, it would just unload its whole clip into the Devastator's body. It doesn't shoot for its like weak spots like its face, and all the bullets kind of just ping off of its armor, and that's all it does. does, and then it goes back and reloads. So this guard dog is just constantly reloading, and it's not killing any of the enemies. If they want to buff this guard dog, they need to make it more accurate, and they need to give it a bigger magazine. This thing should be shooting off like 100 rounds before it has to reload, not 20 shots before it needs to reload. And the fact that it can run out of ammo to begin with is just a completely weird design choice. I don't know why that's a thing, that we have to constantly be refilling our guard dog. This guard dog is just still completely inferior to the laser guard dog. Like I said, they keep buffing it in all the wrong ways. It needs to fire off more shots before it needs to reload. And then the final two things they mentioned in this blog post is the orbital walking barrage. They said originally the walking barrage was intended to suppress enemies during an advance. However, given the chaotic nature of orbital barrages, the walking barrage had no definite application, as it felt too unreliable at times. The increased duration of the bombardment, in combination with reduced movement speed, should make the walking barrage saturate the area better while covering the same amount of distance as before. And then for the orbital 120 HE barrage, similarly to the walking barrage, the 120 barrage felt too random at times if salvos missed the target or hit the same spot multiple times. With decreased cooldown, the 120 barrage will be accessible more often and should make randomness less punishing. And in my testing, I honestly couldn't tell too much of a difference. Like, yes, I can tell that the 120 barrage cooled down a little bit faster, but as for the walking barrage, it still kind of feels the same as before. The shots just go at complete random. It's very hard to hit targets accurately. As long as you throw like a barrage into like an automaton base or into a giant bug nest, odds are it's going to eventually hit some of the enemies. My problem with the barrages is that they're just so inaccurate. You kind of just have to throw them and hope for the best. There's been a number of different times where I've thrown in a barrage and it's not killed any of the units I was trying to destroy. So in my opinion, I think they need to tighten up the barrages and make them a bit more accurate. But I mean, any buff's better than no buff at all, so I couldn't tell too much of a difference from these changes, but any positive buff is welcome. So that does it for everything in the blog post. Now to end out the video, there's been a couple of tweets from the CEO that I want to go over for you guys that kind of give more of an explanation as to what their idea is for the future. He said, "Okay, Helldivers, I spent the last few hours reading and commenting on your thoughts on the latest patch. Thank y'all for caring so much and almost all being so constructive in feedback and suggestions. We'll be listening more and there'll be more improvements / tweaks coming." Then we had this person who responded saying, "Can the devs publish a mission statement? I believe by explaining their vision for the weapons, it will help us understand the buffs / nerfs in this PvE," and basically says that it will help clarify where they're sitting at on their decisions. And the CEO responds saying, "Great request, we'll do one better. We'll do that, and we'll do a stream where we unpack what it means." And that response was posted a couple hours ago as of uploading this video. So it appears that they are taking the feedback, and they are going to probably do a live stream to explain a lot of these things. And in my opinion, like I said earlier at the beginning of this video, I do feel like with all this negative feedback, they are probably going to go back on some of these decisions, especially with this new war bond coming out tomorrow. It's just completely mind-blowing to me that they would nerf fire damage right before a war bond based on fire damage. That's just bad marketing. Like, hey, we're going to nerf the thing we're trying to sell you tomorrow. This doesn't make any sense. So I definitely feel like they're going to walk back some of those fire damage decisions. But overall, that's going to do it for everything in today's video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. Overall, I do feel like this was a decent update. I do like the new enemy types. I do like that there's a harder game mode. I do like that they tweak some of the barrages. They tweak the slugger to make it better. They also made the hell bombs better. So now if you activate a hell bomb and then shoot it while it's activated, it will blow up. So they made hell bombs a lot better. They made it so that the personal shield and the big bubble shield will block out blizzards and sandstorms. So that was another good change. It's just, they took a month off for vacation. Everybody was waiting for this big update, and then they come back and they nerf the things that they said they weren't going to nerf. I think that's why everybody's so upset with this update. But any and all comments are welcome down below. I'm interested to see your guys' opinion on this. Tomorrow is the brand new war bond, so I will be testing out each of the new weapons and giving you guys my opinions on those weapons, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss out on that video. If you made it this far into the video, consider giving it a thumbs up because it helps me out in the algorithm and is greatly appreciated. And that is going to do it for me, guys, and I will talk to you all in the next video.